Murray's an active innovator in Jewish studies who's shaped a vibrant and growing Jewish studies program at the University of California, Santa Cruz. He started an exciting program institute in Venice, which is going to take place this summer to study Italian Jewry. He edits the important journal Judaism. And in addition to numerous articles and edited collections and journals on an impressive array of topics, including Jewish American literature, he has lots of different hats. Ozick, Roth, Holocaust literature, Carlyle, Dickens, and more. Some of his books include Understanding Philip Roth, Expectations and Endings, Observations on Holocaust Literature, City Scriptures, Modern Jewish Writing, Carlyle, Books and Margins. But most importantly, Murray was my teacher 20 years ago at the University of California, Santa Cruz, in a class on Jewish American literature, which I can credit with launching my interest in Jewish American literature. So it's a pleasure to have Murray here. Let's welcome him warmly.
Realistic fiction, I've been reading realistic fiction, I think, all my life, 19th, 18th, 19th century fiction. Brett said I do all these things, and when I have to explain them to different people, one of my explanations is that I'm like that Jewish salesman who comes with two suitcases. In one suitcase, he's got talesim and tefillin, and in the other suitcase, he's got crosses and, crucifixes. And they say to him, Moshe, how could you? And he thinks a minute and he says, from one God, can you make a living? American Midrash works for me to focus what an older generation of North American Jewish writers have done, and to suggest the achievement of a new, younger generation, a younger generation that is just now coming into its own. Many of these younger writers, most of them, went to day schools or had a very strong Jewish education, and they also benefited enormously from the Jewish studies programs that are now throughout North American universities. The conventional view is that they wrote about the immigrant world, and once those immigrants were assimilated into American Jewish life or acculturated, there would be no more American Jewish writing. In that sense, the model that was at work in my own shorthand is that they were the writers of the Exodus. They were the writers who wrote about the Exodus from wherever they came from, and then the entry into American life, into making it in different ways. Well, in my shorthand, these younger, new writers who proved that conventional view incorrect are the writers who are inspired by the book of Deuteronomy. They are writing about a whole system of experiences that is different from the immigrant writers, but they're very aware of them, and their achievement grows out of their predecessors. If you will, one can suggest, for example, that the world of Abraham Kahn and the very famous novel that all courses in American Jewish fiction deal with, The Rise of David Levinsky, is one of those early books that deal with the immigrant entry into American culture. That's a novel about the absence of agency. It's a novel about someone who is a success in one sense and a failure in his life in another. Part of my sense is that Jonathan Safran Foer, Jonathan Rosen, those writers, Rebecca Goldstein, are all writing about Jews who gain agency, who, whatever they do, are successes in their lives as Americans and as Jews, because they don't evade the questions that people do in The Rise of David Levinsky. The new writers are interested in different genres, different literary forms than the older writers seem to be. They're dealing with Hasidic tales, with traditional parables, with responses to the Bible. This new generation devises fictions articulating the return to communal traditions and a liturgical literature, rather than the marriage plot of the sociological and psychological novel, with its emphasis on romantic love. These writers chart the problematics of a diffuse and polymorphous sexual energy in brilliant travel narratives. In their fiction, Jewish agency is reclaimed. Their characters choose lives centered on Judaic tradition. They write about urban culture in a different way, and in that sense, they connect to those other great writers. Are we in exile? And there's big arguments that we have, and they're always, oh, Murray, you're doing that again. Of course we're not in exile. Here we are in Santa Cruz. And yet these writers all ask those questions again, like throwbacks to the Yiddish writers of the 30s and 40s. So these writers engage issues that many people have thought are over.